So I guess we may start. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening to all of you as you're participating from all over the world. Welcome to our Earthen Architectural Heritage Seminar, dedicated this one to construction and earth construction and seismic. First of all, I would like to spend a few words about ICOMOS and especially about our committee, ISCEAH. ICOMOS, as you know, is an international body that cares about the preservation, the conservation, and the valorization of the heritage in general. It is organized in 31 international scientific committees, and ISCEAH is one of these. ISCEAH is dedicated to the conservation, the preservation of earthen architectural heritage. The committee is organized in 5 chairs, and actually this is the first of 5 appointments dedicated each to each chair that we decided to organizing with the aiming to basically to 2 goals. The first goal is to present and to disseminate the work of the committee itself, so to present the activities that we run in the frame of our committee, and especially in the frame of the 5 working groups, which are dedicated to construction and seismic, to technology related to earthen architecture, of course, to archaeology, to the in-use heritage, that meaning that the heritage which is still inhabited and used by people, and the last one is landscape. Each of these groups is coordinated by an expert member. At present, the coordinators are Natalia Jorquera for seismic, Ayon Stigler for in-use heritage, Bakonirina Ratkomamonji for technology, Masoud Nakai for archaeology, and Jorge Tomasi for landscapes. The second goal is the reason why each seminar will be managed together by the chair coordinator and an ICOMOS emerging professional member, a young member who is active on the same topic. Elena de Santis will be participating and sharing the event of today together with Natalia Jorquera for seismic. Julieta Barada will do in the next meeting for technology, Alison Cavicchio for archaeology, Tininan Bashir Sharif for the in-use heritage, and Alisa Berry for landscape. We hope in this way to help young generations to approach the older ones. And especially we hope that they enrich the committees with new ideas and with fresh energy. I thank all coordinators and emerging professionals who organized these 5 meetings, and I hope all participants will enjoy this event. Of course, I invite you to see our website and eventually join us in our work. Thank you.
Thank you, Magdalena. Well, Magdalena is the president of our committee. Thank you very much for that presentation. I ask you to participate also with questions and answers, in the chat. So we will be checking that with Elena. So now we will give the floor to Natalia, that is the chair of the seismic theme of our committee. Natalia is a Chilean architect with a PhD in architectural technology. She is associate professor at the Department of Architecture of the Universidad de La Serena in Chile and coordinator of the Research Center in Earthen Architecture and Heritage-CIATYP of the same university. She also is the director of the Architecture Studio ARQUITIKA Natalia has worked in several restorations and seismic retrofitting projects of Chilean adobe historical buildings. Besides, she has conducted several researches about vernacular and earthen heritage conservation, from which she has written 2 books, several chapters, and scientific papers. She is member of PROTERRA, an Iberian-American network, ICOMOS Chile, and ISCEAH, our committee. She is the chair of our SEISMIC subcommittee or team. So thank you, Natalia, and thank you, Elena, for this evening.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yes. So,
yes,
thank you. Thank you, Magdalena and Amanda, for the presentation. And thank you all for attending to this meeting. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm going to share my presentation. Please, just okay. So, can you see well the screen? Yes? Okay.
yes, we can.
So, thank you. In this first part of the meeting, I'm going to present the work of the SEISMIC subcommittee that, as Magdalena said, is one of the 5 subcommittee that is part of the ISCEAH, that is part of ICOMOS. I'm going to start for a question. Why having a SEISMIC subcommittee inside ISCEAH? Because as you maybe know, one of the main threats that affect earthen heritage is the seismic action. And there's a very big coincidence between places with a lot of earthen heritage and the strongest seismic actions in the world. So this put us a big challenge for the conservation of earthen heritage. I'm going to come back to the first slide. However, there are many myths about the seismic behavior of earthen structures. Not all earthen structures suffer serious damages from earthquake. So it's a challenge for the research, for the field of earthen heritage, for the conservation, to know which are the real reasons behind the collapse of the damages suffered by heritage. The picture that you're seeing on the right is the Citadel of Bam. That is a very, very famous example of World Heritage damage, completely built with earth, that was very damaged after the earthquake of 2003. But however, in the last assessment of the reasons of these damages, it was discovered that many of the damages were born because of the, paradoxically, because of the intervention of conservation made in the last decades. On the opposite side, there are a lot of examples of good conservation of earthen heritage all around the world, but these cases have not the same publicity of the same media and are less studied in comparison with the cases that suffer damages. This one is an example of Santiago of Chile. This is the convent of San Francisco in Santiago. That is the oldest building of the capital. And it's built entirely in adobe masonry in 2 floors. And it has survived many earthquakes over magnitude 7, about 15 earthquakes more or less. So I always wonder what other building in Santiago of Chile will survive in the next 400 years. I don't know if concrete or iron new buildings will be also in 500 years. The lines of actions inside this subcommittee are more or less these 3. The first one, and maybe the main one, is the research about the most typical seismic damages suffered by earthen structures. with the idea of prevent. If we know the most typical damages suffered by typological architecture, we can prevent, and then we can conserve our heritage. The second line of actions is to offer support in international damage assessment missions in countries with earthen heritage affected by earthquake. The pictures you see on the right is one international survey mission that was made in Chile in 2010 after a very big earthquake of magnitude 8.8 that is considered the third biggest earthquake in the world. And together with ISCEAH, we made an important damage assessment mission before the demolitions that were made. And of course, after this assessment, we have a lot of knowledge, both from cases that have suffered damages, and also from those cases that are example of good behavior. And the third line of action is to offer support for the work of the UNESCO World Heritage Center in reviewing files on sites under seismic risk. ICOMOS is an advisory body of UNESCO, and so one of the missions of ICOMOS is to review these files for the nomination of World Heritage. So every subcommittee is responsible of supporting this review of these files. Some of the achievement of the last decades, you have to know that ISCEAH was born in 2005, so almost 20 years ago, 18 years ago. So, of the achievement of the last decade of this subcommittee are the following. First of all, the work of this seismic subcommittee is very aligned with the state of the art of international research, since many of the members of the subcommittee are leading researchers worldwide. The main research centers in this field of seismic risks of historical structures, like the Getty Conservation Institute, the Centro Tierra in Peru of the Pontificia Universidad Católica del Perú, for example, are conducted by researchers that are part of ISCEAH. Then from these researchers, there are some consensus that have achieved. One of those, one that is very important, is there is a consensus that there are typical damages mechanism derived from architectural typologies. So, for example, these pictures, this drawing that you see on the right is the typical typologies of typical architectural typology of the colonial houses that is in all Latin America and also North America. That is a one-floor adobe masonry house. And as you see in the draw, this kind of architectural typologies has two main mechanisms of damages. There are the shear cracks, diagonal shear cracks around the windows and doors, and the overturning mechanism in this wall. And as this draw was made for the first time from the Getty Conservation Institute in the United States, but then you can see this kind of typical mechanism in all the architectural typologies that are more or less the same, disseminated around the world. And so, for example, here you can see two houses in different parts of Chile, more or less of the same typology. So one floor house of adobe masonry. And here you can see this vertical crust that is indicated the beginning of this mechanism of overturning of adobe wall. So the lesson behind this action is, if we know anticipated which are the mechanisms of damage, we can act for prevention. and we can avoid the mechanism of damages. Another important achievement of the last decades is that there is a consensus that the most serious seismic damages does not depend exclusively of the Earth's material, but rather of multiple factors, such as the soil, the geometry of the building, the bad construction practices, the inappropriate alteration of the buildings, and also because of the inappropriate reinforcements of conservation practices made mostly during the 20th century. Or in sometimes because of other precedent pathologies, most of all the pathologies that depends of moisturing, that most of the time make the resistance of the walls to decrease considerably. The example that you see on the right is a Chilean church that is in the north of Chile that was built in 1767, so survived for about 300 years with many earthquakes, but it is collapsed after 2005 earthquake because of beam reinforcements made of concrete that was put in the upper side of the walls. So this concrete beam that in this big earthquake moved too fast, and then they made the walls of adobe to collapse. This was a very important example in Chile because after this event, the Chilean state forbidden the concrete reinforcement in adobe structures. And the third achievement of the last decade is the research of suitable reinforcement for earthen structures, mechanically compatible and that do not affect the authenticity of the heritage. So there are a lot of researches in how to introduce compatible reinforcement. This is an example of a reinforcements made in houses of Belén in the north of Chile, reinforced with chicras that are ropes in adobe walls. That is a last technology developed by the Pontificia Universidad Católica del Perú and then disseminated in other countries. Which has been the work of this subcommittee in the last years. In the last period, that was under the coordination of Claudia Concina, there was development of an earthquake mitigation guidelines for earthen historic structures that were developed, and this document is in its final phase of revision before being published by ISCEAH. This document will be for public authorities mainly, for them to know what to do before, during, and after an earthquake. So it's a document that is useful for emergency cases. And in this 3-year current period, the work has been focused in identify and disseminate the most typical failure mechanism, as I showed before, of earthen structures, associating typical damages and forms of vulnerability, seismic vulnerability, to the different earthen building techniques beyond adobe masonry, as most of the research in the last decades has been focused on adobe masonry almost exclusively. So the idea now is to enlarge this research. This mechanism of failures associated with different techniques and different architectural typologies will be disseminated in a glossary of earthen material deterioration. That is this document that is under developed. And this is the part of this glossary, is in a draft. And as you see in on the right side, this pattern of cracks that I also showed before, are the most typical shear cracks and overturning mechanism in adobe walls mainly. And for finishing, which are the challenges for this subcommittee for the next period? I think one of the most important one is to transmit the knowledge acquired inside the scientific community, outside the scientific community, and to reach the inhabitants of earthen structures, the local governments, the decision stakeholders, and also the media. Because most of the time it's the media, the first one that make this bad publicity after every earthquake. And as you see on the right, after the recent earthquake of Morocco, we find in the media article like this that shows exclusively the houses of the building that has collapsed. But in the same pictures, you can see, for example, here, a concrete beam that maybe is one of the explanation because of this collapse. And the second challenge, I think, is to disseminate this preventive measure because, of course, a lot of earthen heritage is vulnerable to seismic risk, and we need to prepare it better to affront the future earthquake that in places with a big seismicity will continue to happen. And for finishing this first part of the meeting, as you maybe know, there was a very big earthquake like a month ago, more or less, or maybe less than a month ago. And as ICOMOS and ISCEAH, and also with the support of other subcommittees, we made a statement concerning the earthquake in Morocco, showing that there are also examples of good behavior as the one you see here in the pictures. And also in this statement that was first made by ICOMOS Spain, some reflections about traditional architectures and the use of adequate materials and adequate kinds of reinforcement are written, as you see here on the right. For example, I'm going to read it textually. The architecture of the past, this is one of the part of the statement, does not collapse simply because it is old or built using traditional materials. Equally, modern architecture does not remain standing during an earthquake simply because it is new or built using more modern materials. In the event of an earthquake, any structure or building, whether old or new, can collapse due to the lack of maintenance, pre-existing pathologies, incorrect design, or deteriorated anti-seismic mechanism. All the regulations on earthquake resisting in new construction in Morocco have been in place since 2001. Housing, which is deficient in structural terms, continue to be built mostly due to the lack of resources. And irrespective of the material, height, and age of the building affected by the earthquake, collapse occurs when these constructions are built either on the fault or very close to it. So this is the most recent activity that we have made inside the ISCEAH and inside the seismic subcommittee. And at the moment, we are trying to collect more information from Morocco because as there has passed very little time from the earthquake, we need to see and to assess which are really these failures of the structures for understanding what has happened. And thank you very much. This was the presentation of the first part.
Thank you, Natalia.
Very
Okay,
much.
thank you. Should I present myself or
You. So Elena is with us today, and she is the emerging professional who is accompanying Natalia today. So Elena is a qualified architect with a master's degree specialized in conservation and restoration of architectural heritage and landscape. She has been extensively researching on the valorization and dissemination of vernacular urban architecture, and currently she is a PhD candidate at La Sapienza University in Italy in partnership with the University of La Serena in Chile. She works in the international cooperation as a conservation architect, and she has been involved in design and restoration projects in Italy, Iran, Portugal, Kosovo, KSA, Chile. She's a member of Terra ODV and ISCEAH, and of course, she's a member of ISCEAH Emerging Professionals. So the floor is yours, Elena.
Thank you, Tinian. Okay. So today I'm going to present a case study that I had the opportunity to study and research in particular during my specialization in my thesis. This is a peculiar case in the Abruzzi region in central Italy, which, as you know, is with the Marche region. Umbria is one of the most seismic region in Italy. So part of this scientific team, I'm going to show you this peculiar rural heritage, vernacular houses called massoni in the Abruzzi and atterrato in the Marche region. This peculiar heritage, as you see, is constructed with earth, which is worked in a plastic state with straw and in irregular shapes like loaves, and it could be compared to the cob technique and Bauge technique spread in France. Basically, you can go on. Yeah. As you can see, the technique, it is work like loaves. In the picture, you see the movement of the hands, which is very similar to the mixing procedure of the massoni, which is made with this earth, which is a very the soil is a very good composition in minerals, and it is good also for, of course, for the construction, to build in such context. Okay, go on. It is curious that this heritage is located in central Italy, which is actually, as you can see in the map, a very seismic territory. Even last week we had an earthquake in central Italy, and but this heritage is thanks to the morphology and the construction quite resistant to earthquakes, due to the fact that the morphology of the building is built in such a way that at the base is thicker, and the more you go up, it becomes thinner, the masonry, and in such a way the building can resist to earthquake phenomenon. And it is very interesting that this rural heritage, of course, spread in the countryside of the Abruzzi and Marche region, is done by simple people who actually knew the role of art and knew how to build anti-seismic houses for themselves. And this know-how is under threat nowadays, because the memory is being lost to the fact that this heritage is often abandoned. There is lack of maintenance, and also people, the owners of these houses, decided to destroy the buildings and build concrete houses in spite of renovating the heritage. Yeah, thank you. I have analyzed during my specialization thesis this case located in Torre Valignani to show you better the characteristics of this massone, of this technique. And in this slide, you can see also the characteristics and also the possible and the potential overturning mechanism during a seismic episode. So the problem related to this heritage is the lack of connection. So when when we have to renovate and regenerate, restore this heritage, it is important to check that all the components, the structural components, are well connected, and the wooden ties called the diatoms are actually in place, because what is of course the most frequent thing that happens is that the wood is with the time it starts cracking, and it has to be, of course, consolidated. You can see in this picture the most important connections that have to be always in a good conservation state between the roof, which is made with this tile layer and straw mat and wood, of course, primary beams and secondary beams, and they have to be of course connected to the masonry, to massone, the structure. Also, another thing that of course caused the decay of this particular heritage is the incongruent additions that people with the time build to increase the space, the living space. Normally, of course, this heritage is dedicated to families involved in agriculture. So there are spaces dedicated to keep the animals, like a deposit for the goods, and the family live all together in one single room at the first level. These houses, as you can see, are very simple, because the morphology, the shape has to resist, of course, the seismic actions. So little openings, the fire brick staircase that connect to the main living space, which is at the first floor, while the ground floor is only for kitchen and for activities, daily activities dedicated to normal activities. Yes, another characteristic which embedded into the technique of massoni is that the work of the straw, which is very important because, of course, improved the tensional resistance of the masonry itself. Okay. This is section of this massone house, which is still part of the research I was doing in my academic studies. As you can see, I was talking about the incongruous additions that people build during the times on the back of the building in order to not be seen from outside, from the street, the main street. And of course, these incongruous additions create sort of the building drag the traditional massoni on the back on the slope. So it's very because it's attached directly to the traditional masonry. So one thing that we should avoid is, of course, to build in attaching the new structure to the traditional house. Yes. One. This is a technical drawing, a section, and that shows the possible actions that we can do in order to reintegrate and regenerate the house, Massone house. In particular, as I was mentioning, the reintegration of all the roof components, of course, in order to allow, of course, the not the water, the rain inside the house, the improvement of the connections, so the ties and the wooden beams. And here I was proposing also to make the corner stronger by adding with the operation of cuci scuci, the eroded part of massone, the earth, reuse the earth and make bricks, for instance, to make that weak part more solid. Another element that we have to, of course, make sure that is there on site is the wooden ties, of course, in order to prevent the overturning of the facade during seismic actions, and make sure that the humidity does not enter the building. So make sure that, of course, all the drainage and the crawl space is in place. Normally, this building don't have a real foundation because the house is directly connected to the soil, and so we don't have any foundation, anything like that separate the building, the soil from the soil of the building, the earth.
Elena? Do you hear her, Natalia?
In the Abruzzi,
Oh.
in the Abruzzi, now here, as on the right column. So you see Casa di Teresa, which is an example of a vernacular house that has been restored by local architects. And another case based in Treia, Macerata, in the Marche region, which, as I was mentioning before, the houses of this region have a similar technique of massone, but they are called atterrato. And as you see in the second images below, this rural house has been renovated by local architect with public funds. Okay. Yes, move on. This table shows the fact that all the most dangerous, the most the destructive seismic earthquakes, basically, have been occurred in Italy, like from 1606 till, of course, last week. But actually, the decay and the damages of this heritage is not related to these earthquakes. Even if the magnitude has been really, really high, this heritage is actually under threat, not because of earthquakes, but because of lack of maintenance and lack of preservation initiatives. This heritage has been constructed since from the 18th, 19th century, so it is related to these dates of the earthquakes. But still, all the damages that we could observe have been observed on other type of heritage, so located in other places like L'Aquila, due to, of course, failure mechanism and also problems related to the material, to the lack of mortar and the use of techniques that were not suitable for that type of heritage. Especially something similar happens also on the Massone, where, as you saw before, concrete elements have been added, and these are potential, of course, potential threat to this heritage. Because we know that concrete is not compatible with earth materials. Okay. And I'd like to conclude by sort of reclaiming regeneration of this heritage, because the first thing that we can do in order to preserve and to valorize earthen heritage is to know this and to know and disseminate information about this heritage. So there are a lot of examples of earthen houses, vernacular houses that are under destruction because of atmospheric, because of rain, because of lack of maintenance, because of course, other type of choices by people who prefer destroying their own house to build other type concrete houses. There are, of course, several NGOs, private sector, and also public sector who are doing a lot to actually implement dissemination and valorization projects through master plan, through good initiatives, and like is doing the association I'm part of, Terre Onlus, which has its base in Casalincontrada in the province of Chieti, very, very close to the building that I showed you before. So I conclude by invite you to come and see this heritage, because the first step to valorize it is to know it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, you go ahead. Okay, thank you very much, Elena, for this interesting presentation, and I will give Amanda to comment all of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena. Thank you, Natalia, for enlightening us in this topic that is so important today. We have several people that are writing on the chat where they from. Many seismic countries like Turkey, Peru, Chile, Mexico, many places that we have seen on the media. Also, all the problems with the last earthquakes. Many people from Morocco are also joining us today. So welcome everyone. And we open now the discussion. We would really like people to set questions, to ask, and to talk together now. There were some questions here on the chat that we will read now. There's a very long one about Morocco, but we also invite you to open your mic and to just question. We were thinking that we can talk about 10 to 15 minutes, and then we will just invite everyone for the next session. So I don't know, there was Khalil El Aruni that had a comment here in the chat. I don't know if you can open your microphone and say it yourself. If not, I can read it. Khalid? No? So he said, I would like to thank ICOMOS for this webinar dedicated to SEISMIC regarding Al-Haus earthquake in Morocco. Oh, there's someone that wants to say something?
Yes, Amanda.
Yes, please.
Thank you very
Plug
much.
yourself.
So if you want, I can say.
Yes, please.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank ICOMOS and the Scientific International Committee on Earth for this webinar dedicated to seismic and earth construction. Regarding Al-Hawz earthquake, this is the name of the last earthquake in Morocco. We can say that it is classified as one of the strongest earthquakes the Earth has ever known, and the first of its kind after 100 years. As you know, it reached 7 degrees on the Richter scale, and the depth of its epicenter was 18 kilometers below the surface of the Earth, of course. And its radius reached more than 500 kilometers, which explains its extension to cities in the east, north, south, and west to the Atlantic Ocean. For example, people in Rabat, for example, Rabat is far to the epicenter, about 400 to 500 kilometers. Of course, there are some damages, but fortunately, some construction projects in load-bearing walls using, of course, local materials, mainly earth, have resisted to 6.8 magnitude earthquake at just 30 kilometers from the epicenter. The reason is, we think, is the compliance with the provisions of the regulation, paraseismic regulation for earth construction, as well, of course, as the quality of design and implementation and construction. We can say also that as some people say that they must to rebuild with concrete. This is a wrong idea, and we must preserve, of course, earth as a construction material, and it can resist, of course, to earthquakes using, of course, good best practices and regulation. So that's all. Thank you very much for your listening.
Thank you very much for your comment. I don't know, Natalia, if you want to say something about it.
Yes, but first of all, I would like to thank that all the people that is hearing us, because we have 64 people, so a lot. So it is indicative that this is a theme that is very important to discuss and to disseminate, and as I said before, outside the scientific community. And I just would like to thank Khalid for telling us all this important information about this earthquake, because we are just trying to understand, trying to know how it was. And it is very interesting that you have talked to us about this this normative reglement paraseismic. Yes. And I understood also that there were some new buildings made with local materials also nearby the epicenter.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a new project.
New projects. Yes. So I just would like to give you my email on our email, to be in contact, and maybe you can send us some pictures from these buildings, because we know that it's very important to know the cases of good behavior and also the cases with failures, to understand the mechanism. An earthquake is a horrible event, but it's also an opportunity to understand how to improve buildings, how to improve conservation practices. So I just would like to give you our context and to keep
Yes, Natalia, I will provide you, of course, after authorization from the architects, because they are three people, architects, who designed this projects. And of course, I know Madalena, so I will put my email, and I will send you, of course, all information. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to you.
Very important, and it's also in the spirit that Natalia and Elena show us, no? That there are many cultures and there are many responses that are proved under the earthquake that are earthquake resistant, no? Culturally, that maybe have been tested for many years until a good response, and that if that can be also involved in norms and legislation, as you told, that's very, very important. Thank you very much. I also put the email of ISCEAH, and then if there are other people that have information, just invite you to share with us so we can also disseminate it. Okay. Are there any comments?
Amanda, we have another question here from Susana Ribeiro. So she's talking about the nets used to reinforce earthen structure. She's asking what kind of materials should be made of, what kind of material it can be made of, and how thick should be the layer of mortar that cover the net. You get the question, Elena?
Yeah,
Natalia.
Natalia, I think she showed an example of this, the chiqueras in the north.
Yes. I didn't hear well the answer, the question, excuse me, but I think it was about suitable retrofitting materials.
It's about the chiqueras in particular.
Okay.
Nets. Yeah.
Okay. This chiqueras technology is a very basic form of containing the blocks, the adobe blocks, and for preventing the overturning of the blocks. And it is made simply by ropes that are put together. And I don't know if maybe I can show again the presentation to explain better.
But it's very interesting because this technology was developed based on the knowledge seen on an archaeological site that has more than 5,000 years old in Peru. So that is very interesting on how we can learn a lot from the old technologies.
Yes, it's a vernacular seismic resistant technology that has been reproposed. Yes, and I don't know if I answer with this because yes, I would like to show it again. Yes, and as Amanda said, this was a vernacular seismic resistant solution that was found in Peru in some archaeological sites. And it has been reproposed by the University Catholic of Peru. And these are an example from Chile, from the northern Chile, where an entire settlement, an entire village, rural village, was reinforced with this kind of ropes. And as you've seen in this picture, the ropes are put in order to avoid the collapse of the adobe walls. That's all. And these are put from one side of the wall and the inner side of the wall, and they are connected transversally also by ropes like this. So, and they are also tied to the beams of the roof and also to the foundations. Yes.
Also to complement, because they ask about
Yes.
what type of material.
Okay. These are ropes.
Yeah, they're plastic ropes, right? In this case.
Also, I think cotton ropes.
Okay.
Also, not just plastic. And I think in this case, these are cotton ropes.
And they ask also about the thickness of the mortar layer, about the
plaster.
The plaster, yeah.
About the plaster, the thickness, I think it's about 3 centimeters more or less, the base plaster. Then there's another one that is thinner, that is the finish.
The important thing is that it has to cover over at least 1 to 2 centimeters over the rope. If not, there could be lines in the plaster.
Of course.
No?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you also, Susana, for the question. We have a last question on the question and answer box. Two last. So there's Faikal Alawal that is asking, please, can I have your email? We put the email on the chat so everyone can see the emails. We put ISCEAH emails, and also Natalia put her own. So thank you very much. She said she's an architect, and now it's on the site of the earthquake. Many architects are in really need of reference and protocols to proceed, and some time to explain to local people what to do for the minor intervention. That's a very important thing, because we were actually talking on how could we approach the people that are on the site. No, Natalia, maybe you want to say something about this? Because
yes, as I said in the presentation, there's a big challenge, I think, on this matter, that is how to disseminate this knowledge to inhabitants and also to local governments, because most of the times when an earthquake happened and heritage is damaged, local governments started to demolish, for example, without making an assessment and a serious diagnosis before, to understand if there's a really a structural problem, that there is a really yes. I don't know if I lost a little the
no, it's
the question. Yes, yes,
yeah,
I think that's a challenge. Yes, yeah, and the other one that is a lot.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think also there's a lot of simple practices of maintenance of the houses that can really be useful for preventing structural damages, not just seismic damages. I talked very quickly about the moisture, but from all the cases I have seen, also Amanda, also people who works in this field, most of the time water coming from kitchen, from the bath, for many time without maintenance, starts to deteriorate the earthen walls. And of course they are very weak when they have to front an earthquake. So most of the time the maintenance of a very simple thing can prepare the houses and the building to front better the earthquakes. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. So we ask you to leave us your contact, and we already wrote our contacts on the chat. So the people that are on the field in Morocco now, it will be very interesting to try to get to the field, right, with this information and knowledge. Thank you. We have another question about the ropes. If we use cables instead of ropes. And then we will give the floor to Georgios that is asking for.
Yeah, can I speak? Thank you very much. I congratulate with you. I am not an architect, I am not a structural engineer, but I am chemist, conservation scientist, and expert of earth material because I work in several countries in Near East and Central Asia, Iran, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt too. So that I have to precise because I speak about the materials that not all the earth materials have the same composition. So the stability and resistance of these materials depends on their composition, mineralogical composition. Not only, but all the earth materials are clay materials. This is, you must to know that. So the resistance of the earth materials depends too of their quality. And of course, I cannot use in all the countries the same type of earth materials because we don't have in that place. Okay, this is, I like it only to precise. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Georgios. We agree completely with you. Yes, there are some buildings that, as you said, are built from the beginning, maybe with a raw material because it's an earth poor of clay or rich just or sand. So that's a very important point also. So thank you very much. And I would like to invite you to join ISCEAH if you work on this field.
Yes,
we don't have many.
Yes, I will send you my email. I will send you to with a big pleasure. With a big pleasure. It will
be a very precious contribution for us.
Thank you very much. Yes. I will send you my email. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, if you want to answer the rope question, can we use cables instead of ropes? And then we will finish.
I hope so. I haven't seen cables. I have seen polymeral rope and plastic and rows, but I think it depends on the how to say on the strength of the material. But I think so. Yes, I haven't used it and I haven't seen it, but I think it could be used.
Maybe just a thing that it's not that too rigid, because normally when you go inside, if you see, there was a special treatment of the rope when it goes inside, because the cable maybe it can break the bricks, because so maybe there's a special thing there. There's Claudia that is asking to talk. Claudia can see, the former SEISMIC chair of our committee.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
No, I just wanted to add that I don't know if you're aware, but before the seismic retrofitting project at the GCI, there was another project that was called the Getty Adobe Seismic Project. And in that project, there were some techniques that were designed in the 90s with the University of Stanford about some retrofitting techniques for adobe churches in California. And that was when this system of rope enclosure was suggested and tested. And then from there, some applications were done when the plaster, the exterior or interior plasters and paintings were not significant. They were implemented in some sites here in California by California engineers. So it has been used with sort of metal cables before, but sort of, you know, like conservators thought that it was maybe too invasive to do that. And then from there, Daniel Torrealba from the Pontificia Universidad Católica del Perú did a series of testing using the other type of materials for the ropes, including, you know, the regular rope and the geomayas and all that. And that was also funded by the Getty Conservation Institute. So it has been used. I mean, originally metal was the material that was proposed, and then it changed it to other more sustainable materials. However, I would like to add that not too much research has been done about the durability of those ropes over time. That's the only thing that hasn't been addressed. So that I just wanted to clarify that for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
And by the way, excellent webinar. Very, very, very well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claudia. I think this project, the Getty SEISMIC Adobe project, is one of the first and the most important. So I wrote the name in the chat because most of the publications are available online. And I have forgotten this kind of inner met in the interior of the walls that maybe are in one publication. And these are very interesting kind of, but when someone asked for cables, I understood another thing, like a cable, yes.
Well, thank you very much to everyone that participated. Thank you to those that are leaving their emails on the chat also. If anyone is willing to join ISCEAH or to participate more, we invite you to go to our website that is here, to follow also our networks. On our website is how we accept people to join us, and then to invite you to the next webinars about different topics, no, that are our themes, our actions, right? The next one will be the 19th of October about earthen technologies. So if there are not more questions either.
Amanda, we have another question, I think.
Okay, last one.
Now, what is the best percentage of clay for a good construction of earth?
Okay.
So this is can be answered by Natalia or others, okay?
There is not. That will be my answer.
If you like, I can answer me for that. Excuse me one moment, because
yes, go ahead, Georgios.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you
Yes.
hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. So I repeat again, it isn't the best material. The best earth material is that must contain clay material. So now I don't like to speak about chemical and mineralogical composition. For example, in my work, I found it in some archaeological site that was totally absent the clay. Totally absent. Was salty material. Salty material is not a resistant material. But it isn't exactly, it isn't a recipe. The best recipe is to have clay material inside. But clay material too, it's very complicated. It isn't one clay material. Depends of his mineralogical composition and the additives too that we have inside. For example, I remember I was 2015, 2016 in Luxor, but not for earth materials, but for conservation of the mural paintings in some chapels. And in West Bank, for example, the mural paintings, we have a layer of earth material before to have the mural painting, etc. And together with the clay was at the beginning fibers, vegetal fibers, but the vegetal fibers was eaten from the termites. So this layer has lost his consistence. So it's not only the clay, because you know better than me that inside the clay we add several old materials, vegetables or animals or other. So it's a little bit complicated. We cannot say that what is the best. The best is better to have clay and not salty materials. This is enough, I think. If you agree, Natalia, with my answer.
Yes, I agree that the optimus is to have clay in the earth material, but as you said, there's a lot of sites and a lot of heritage sites that the earth material is not the optimus, but people has been so intelligent to find some other materials to improve the earth, like blood of animals, straw, vegetable fibers, how to say resina from trees, and a lot of local available materials to improve earth materials. So yes, it's not like to say this does not have the minimum amount of clay, so it doesn't work because we have 2,000 sites, years old sites. It's like that. Yes.
Great. So thank you very much also for the questions, for the answers. So we hope to see you soon in the next webinars, and I hope we could do something with all of the people from Morocco that joined us today and that send us their contact through the chat.
Yes, I just wanted to say that we have a lot of emails in the chats. I don't know if we can write it or if there's the way to record it.
Yeah, the chat will be recorded together with them.
Okay, because we also have here the General Secretary of ICOMOS Morocco. So thank you for.
But then there are emails from Mexico and from other places also. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much to everybody for attending the meeting.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to all. Bye-bye.